listening to Second Cut. This is the weekly podcast from thefilmmagazine.com where we talk about topics in film theory, criticism, history, etc. I'm Jacob, and I'm the one who is unsure how my computer's working.
I'm Sam. I'm one of the two of us wearing a Christmas jumper, hoping that an angel doesn't need to come and talk me round to not offing myself.
I'm Kieran. I'm the one that's thankful that sometimes when the snowman comes to life, it is actually vaguely benevolent.
Yeah, not always a horrible monster killer.
Yeah. Yes, Jack Frost. And in Doctor Who, there's some evils. And in Doctor Who, there's some evil snowmen in an episode called The Snowman, strangely enough.
Is Jack Frost any good?
No.
Have you ever seen
a horror comedy?
Have you ever seen the Michael Keaton film trailer re-edited as a horror film? They don't need to do a lot because it's a very disturbing looking snowman without the horror elements.
It seems fairly similar to the actual one from the horror version, Jack Frost. So yeah, thankfully mine is animated, so it's all good.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So it is Christmas in a few days, so we're doing classic Christmas films. Last year we did some modern ones, went a little off the beaten path. But before we get into those, we had Liam. Liam wants to know what our Mount Rushmore of Christmas films are. He picks National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, Krampus, Jingle All the Way, and Batman Returns. And James picked Muppets Christmas Carol, Miracle on 34th Street, the remake, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, and Fellowship of the Ring.
Do we know
white beard? There's a load of rings. There's elves in it.
I think it mostly comes down to, and this is a very nerdy thing that he pointed out to me. Apparently, the Fellowship set out from Rivendell on the 24th of December, so that's why it's a Christmas film.
Yeah. Also, I'd like to point out that Sauron gets 1 ring. The elves get 3. The dwarves get 7. The humans get 9. Those are all odd numbers, but number 5 is missing. So where are the 5 rings? Well, it's 5 gold rings, obviously. 4 calling doves, 3 French hairs, 2 turtle doves, partridge in a pear tree. So obviously that's how it works. We get the 5 rings for Christmas to control, I don't know, hobbits maybe.
And yeah, I mean, I usually take issue with movies that are not Christmas movies being called Christmas movies. I think there needs to be a consistent Christmas feeling or atmosphere to it throughout the majority of the film at the very least. So something like Die Hard, I don't have a problem with. That Kubrick movie that he made before he died, I don't have a problem with.
Eyes Wide Shut.
Thank you. But like Fellowship of the Ring it's not a Christmas movie. Maybe you'll watch it at the season. Maybe that's a personal thing, but I disagree.
So there is a thing with Two Towers that if you start at the right moment on New Year's Eve, I think he says so it begins as soon as it goes to New Year's Day. That is a thing.
Gandalf isn't fat. That's another deal.
So who wants to come up with their 4 then? Their 4 kind of go-to Christmas
care.
movies.
Mine would just be a Muppets Christmas Carol watched 4 times. So I don't know what the issue is.
Nice.
I'm taking this off because it hurts.
Sam, did you have yours or did you need time to stall?
It's a Wonderful Life, Muppet Christmas Carol, Tokyo Godfathers, which I talked about last year, and probably Home Alone. I'm quite a basic bitch, you know. Aside from Tokyo Godfathers.
Actually, thinking about it, I might add Anna and the Apocalypse. I've yet to rewatch that this year.
I think mine would be.
I've yet to even play the soundtrack off Spotify this year, which is a shame.
Oh man!
I mean, another good thing about Christmas movies, I think that they need to kind of give you like an emotional response, you know. And I think all those movies can kind of bring a tear to my eye to various extents. So.
There definitely need to be themes of family, togetherness.
Hang on, so Fast and the Furious is a Christmas movie now.
Well, is there consistent Christmas-like atmosphere, lights,
It is if you
music.
count family.
Well, no.
There's always lights. There's always music. Like I don't know what may not be Christmas songs, but
They sit down for a meal at the end.
yeah,
God.
as a family.
And the little Brian stay. God bless us, everyone.
Yeah.
Mine are probably A Christmas Story, The Grinch with Jim Carrey. I really love The Grinch. That's just one. I saw it as a kid, though, both of those. Christmas Story plays 24/7 on a cable channel here. Christmas Day. And then after that, I mean, I'm not super picky. I mean, I guess maybe
We'll
Christmas
put Muppets
Vacation.
on for you then.
No, I'm not doing Muppets. Just we've already said Muppets.
Yes.
Yeah, something like Elf. I liked Elf a lot as a kid. I did like it the last time I watched it as much, but
See, I used to quite like Love Actually, but that's not aged well. It's problematic now. It was always problematic, but we're more enlightened these days.
Mark
But,
Kermode is having a heart attack somewhere.
Yeah. You really shouldn't turn up on your best friend's doorstep to try and seduce his 17-year-old bride with signs.
the holiday is also hasn't aged well. Like Christmas movie, these people just swap houses and then start dating Jude Law. Like, it's very strange.
There's a few classics I've never got around to. So or supposed classics. So Holiday is one. I've never seen that.
It's only like 15 years old, though, isn't it?
Yeah, I suppose, but it's one of those people always talk about.
Kieran, 15 is old. That's almost driving age.
I've never seen Christmas Story, but it's not really a thing over here. That's definitely an American one.
It's like I don't go into for Christmas movies, so like there are so many that I just have not seen. It took me till last year to see It's a Wonderful Life and Miracle on 34th Street. So like it's just not my thing. Like,
and you've still not seen Home Alone, have you?
No, I refuse to see Home Alone.
You know, they made It's a Wonderful Knife. Like they should make like Miracle on 33rd Street or something. There needs to be some kind of.
It'd be Miracle on 42nd Street.
Miracle on Elm Street.
No, it's 46th Street, isn't it? The seedy one. Is it 46th Street?
I don't know. I don't live in New York. We're gonna have to ask Martin Scorsese that question. Okay. Well, while Kieran looks up that street name, do we have anything else on Christmas movies, or do we want to go ahead and get into this?
Yeah, might as well get into it, I suppose.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll start with the first chronologically, Miracle on 34th Street. It came out in 1946, and
it's 42nd Street.
Okay, thank you. Very close to 34th, I guess. Just a few numbers away.
Yeah, it's essentially where all like the rundown kind of seedy cinemas and peep shows kind of things used to be in sort of like the 30s and 40s and 50s. So you get people like Joe Dante saying they kind of grew up there with. Apparently, Joe Dante had a wild story that he can't remember what he was watching, but somebody randomly got chased out by somebody else with an axe in the middle of a screening, and everyone just turned around and kind of just went, "Shut up, we're trying to watch." That kind of thing. But 34th Street is much nicer. Yeah,
Travis Bickle takes his dates to 42nd Street, I guess.
Yeah.
Is that a Christmas movie? It has lights. Anyway, I watched Miracle on 34th Street. It was like my first time watching it as an adult, so I didn't remember how stupid this movie is. When you're a kid and you love Christmas and you love magic and you have joy in your heart, like whatever, it's fine. You don't really put much thought into it. It's kind of like the Santa Claus, except dumber, because they didn't know how to write movies back then or something.
So keep this in mind for everything that Jacob is going to say subsequently in this episode. He is a shriveled, joyless old man now. He has no lights.
Have I got
heart. He just
issues?
Oh, Kieran's back.
I'm back. My internet connection is unstable.
Freezing is
like
very apropos.
A bit my knowledge of the U.S. postal system.
Yeah,
Very
yeah.
unstable.
So, God, I have so many issues with this. It's so dumb. It's so bad. So first of all, just the whole thing is Santa's real. And if you don't teach your kids that, you're a bad parent. You got to teach them myths like Jesus and Santa. That is that's a very important thing to the good guy lawyer in this movie, who just kind of announces randomly that he's a lawyer, because it's going to be appropriate to the plot. I've seen the Christian version of this movie. This is the movie where they prove Santa exists in a court of law, and nobody thinks that that's silly or ridiculous. I don't know. I don't understand how that
I
could
think
be a
you'll
court
find
case.
they do. That's half of the film.
Are you saying God's Not Dead is a remake of Miracle on 34th Street?
It kind of is. God's Not Dead 2, to be precise. I guess the plot of it is
God's Not Dead 2, the New Testament. Anyway, sorry.
that would have been better. It's I think it's just God's Not Dead 2. I don't think there's a subtitle, but 3 is Light in the Darkness. Anyway, I'm distracted. I'd rather be talking about that, to be honest. The plot of this movie is that Santa is in New York for some reason. I guess it's not Christmas, so he's hanging out, and he, sees a drunken Santa, goes, well, that's just not going to do. I need to step in for this guy. And he becomes a mall Santa, or just a Macy Santa, because malls didn't exist yet. And then it's about proving whether or not he is literally Saint Nicholas the... what is Santa? Is he like a spirit of some sort? Is he immortal? They're not very clear on the Santa lore in this film, but,
Well, that's the thing about saints in kind of Christian belief is it's all pretty vague about what they are and what they can and can't do. And they've done something miraculous in life to get their sainthood, but after that, yeah, a little bit. It's not consistent, is it?
No.
Nope.
He's not even Saint Nicholas. He's Kris Kringle. That's his name in this movie. He's like the Santa from Coke ads, which probably was not the conceived image of Santa until, like the 1900s or something.
Coke. Yeah, essentially kind of the nearest you get a kind of what kind of we now think of is literally the Ghost of Christmas Present from A Christmas Carol. Like, that's kind of what we started to base everything off. Although one of the people, amazingly, who kind of started to commercialize Christmas anyway, was Washington Irving, who did Sleepy Hollow, and he was one of the people that kind of essentially brought it over from. He came over for a bit to the UK and Ireland, and like, can we have all these kind of festivities? And took it over and started it all up, and then we kind of nicked it again. Because initially, Christmas celebrations were essentially just like 2 weeks of drinking in the Middle Ages, and then then there were laws like, this is not good, this is not holy, bring it back inside. And the Washington was like, let's restart it again, and then it all took off from there. And Dickens got involved, and kind of our traditional image of Christmas is kind of Dickens evolved, as it were.
But also Prince Albert, bringing across sort of like the Germanic idea of Christmas as well over to England, the UK.
Yeah. I mean, look, for America, it's capitalism. The Charlie Brown Christmas thing, like, that's the message, is it's about capitalism, but it should be about Jesus. And this movie has a little bit of that, but then it's also very clearly about capitalism. Like, Mr. Macy says, yes, we're going to tell people to go shop at another store so that they become loyal customers here. And it's like, well, I don't understand this. Who thought this was a good plot for a movie?
Well, I think Mr. Macy's idea is that instead of trying to like force them to buy for us, they will come to us out of loyalty because we are so open and generous, and they will come to us as a result of our kind of generous nature, rather than our capitalistic intentions. We will just happen to make an awful lot more money from this in the meantime.
But what a stupid, like, ideal to try and be putting out into the world, because that's kind of what Code era movies are. is like, you have to send these messages about authority and about blah, blah. So they're going, well, you know what we're going to do? We're going to say, be a good corporation and don't be selfish. And it's like, no, I just want the lowest price. I want the thing that I want. I don't care. This is what you have done to me as a human. I am now a consumer. I am a number. No, I'm not going to be a loyal customer to you because you don't carry the thing I need.
I am a free man.
It's such a weird, stupid message for no reason in this Christmas movie.
Can we just point out though? One, it's always good to see Maureen O'Hara on screen. I don't care even if it's a stupid movie. And two, as I learned today, Maureen O'Hara never got an Oscar nom. Not even a nomination.
I'll tell you what,
like, Jared Leto has an Oscar.
She is.
I don't understand it.
She is very convincing as a skeptic, and same with her daughter, like the skeptical little girl. Now, Santa spends a weird amount of time just hanging out with kids by themselves. Like, he's always in that little girl's bedroom, tucking her in. And I don't know why. It's super weird. It's Natalie Wood, also. Let's throw that out there. She's great, but like, why are there so many scenes of grown men hanging out with this child? It's so strange.
Yeah, and the whole thing out, while mum's at work, just sends your daughter over to the guy across the way,
Yeah, to watch the parade.
Yep.
It's all just recycled. The baseball guy was a clown from last year. They just repainted him. Definitely save money. Don't hire anyone to make yourselves a new one and get in the Christmas spirit. No, as cheap as you can get it. Get a new thing. That's definitely what we're going for.
Now, there's also the psychology subplot where this guy with a really bad accent is like, oh yeah, the psychiatrist told me that people who dress up as Santa, they do it out of a guilt complex. So it's like, yeah, psychology, that's a load of bunk. Don't ever listen to them.
Look, I'd like to point out that when we eventually get to Silent Night, Deadly Night, the psychiatrist proves to be true. People that dress up as Santa have some kind of complex.
But this movie, it like, that's bad that you would consider that somebody would spend time thinking about. No, Santa is just pure love and joy, and there's no motive behind it at all psychologically. Like, it's nothing but noble to be Santa. And
let them do absolutely anything. Please take all the money from my till. Please rob me at gunpoint. You are Santa. You are lovely.
Stop talking about Silent Night, Deadly Night, Kieran.
I am still talking about Silent Night, Deadly Night. That's besides the point. Or Christmas Evil.
There's a reverence for Santa that I do not understand or care about or care for. My sister-in-law does not tell her kids that Santa is real. She's like, there are people who think he's real, so don't go around like ruining their time. People have different beliefs, but we buy the presents for you. Later on, when the trial's going on, and they're like, if we have a newspaper article that says Santa is not real, do you know what happens? The global economy collapses. People will not shop. People will not do this or that. And it's like, but if Santa wasn't real, everybody would have to buy more presents because they're not magically appearing under the tree. Which, do they magically appear under the tree in this world? I don't know.
Yes, obviously.
Or do they?
How the hell do you think they magically obtain a house?
They go to Macy's.
Macy's does not gift them the house.
I think they did in
Santa
the 40s. It's Extreme Home Makeover. I've seen it.
I will say, for as much as all that, and as much as the fact the post thing is ridiculous. One, it's fun to watch, and two, it is a genuinely clever bit of writing. Because
it's not.
No, I was watching this today, going, if you've got this issue where you as a writer have gone, I need to somehow prove to a federal court that Santa exists. I can tell you, I would not be thinking of Post.
Well,
that is not what I'd be doing. And I watch that and I go, it may be stupidly pulled off, but it's a very kind of nice left-wing bit of thinking to think of to go there in the first place. I do appreciate that.
Let's back that up a little, because what happens is Santa goes to the insane asylum because he fails a psych test on purpose. I don't know why. He goes to Bellevue And he's in there, and they're like, Santa, we're going to get you out of this. We're going to prove God's not dead once and for all, that Santa is the real Santa. That's the movie. So the lawyer loses his job at his law firm. And then there's the corrupt lawyer, or the politician or whatever, who's the guy from I Love Lucy. And he's like, so you're going to get elected, see? You're going to get elected and you're going to say Santa Claus is not real, see? Because that's what the voters need. I'm the bad guy. And I don't understand why anybody cares this much. This is just a crazy guy pretending to be Santa.
It's a Christmas family film from 1940-7, Jacob. Shut up.
6. And then they literally have a trial where the first witness is Mr. Macy. And Mr. Macy's like, yeah, he said he's Santa. There's that stupid part where he has the business card. Like, it says Kris Kringle, born North Pole, address, whatever. Like
Santa, where else is he going to have been born?
And like, did they need that documentation in court? Like, did they just say, he doesn't have anything, whatever? But did they literally put whatever? None of that matters.
I mean,
because
actually, technically, depending on the court, you do need to know where they are from. There was a court in like the 1600s, I think it was the 1600s, where somebody tried to essentially sue Satan for possession and possessing somebody, making them commit evil deeds, and the court in the 1600s had to have the case thrown out because Satan was technically the prince of a foreign power, and they did not have jurisdiction over it. I can't remember all the details, but that was a thing. So like addresses and stuff, it's genuinely like an important detail on whether you can get sued or something like that in courts. So I don't know. Santa, Satan, Krampus, maybe that's a thing. But yeah.
Well, yeah, that first witness they call up, Mr. Macy, he's like, sure, whatever. They call the child of the DA to the stand so that he could say, yeah, he's Santa, and that doesn't matter. So they're like, yeah, what you need is absolute proof from like a federal power, an acknowledgement that this is Santa Claus. Well, why would that... Just because a guy in the government says Santa is real does not prove that Santa's real. The president could write, this guy is Santa. That doesn't make him Santa. But anyway...
I don't know. If there was an executive order coming in the next 4 years that Santa is real, I think things would have to change. Although, to be honest, the post office would say Santa is real, and suddenly the Department of Government Efficiency in the next 4 years would be changing their minds very, very quickly.
Oh, God. They're trying to dismantle the post, actually. So that's great. The post office here, though, it's not like the post office declared it. They said Santa is real. It was just some guy in the mailroom who was like, hey, what are we doing with these letters? I know. We'll just give them to this guy at the courthouse that says he's Santa. And that's dumb. And that's not proof that somebody is Santa, especially when it's just some guy. Why wouldn't they go, oh, they put the wrong address on here. This goes to the North Pole before they throw it into the incinerator or whatever they do with letters to Santa, because Santa's not real. And
I think there is meant to be some magic that they all put the North Pole there, and however it is, they all get sent to Kris Kringle wherever he's staying, insane asylum, thing like that. And therefore, if they all got to him by magic with nothing except Santa North Pole in it, they have to be magically directed to somebody that happens to be Santa, because that's the only logical way that it could happen. I think they're trying to say that is more likely than some like Mission Impossible style government post office conspiracy.
I think you're putting way too much thought into this.
But this is also just a New York branch of the post office. It's not like all of the Santa mail ever goes to this one guy. It's just this little place was like, yeah, sure, we're gonna, as a hilarious joke, send these to Santa. But yeah, that's proof Santa's free. Because he's real. I don't know. And then the movie's over. And I mean, look,
Maureen O'Hara and her new boyfriend get a house, the one that the kids always wanted.
Yeah, that the kid has like a magazine under her bed, so she can be like, I want this house.
And it has a swing in the back garden.
That's good.
because I've not seen it in over a year. Do they do the line about one nation under God in that?
Probably.
Because
What?
I stopped listening.
You're breaking up, I think, or I'm breaking up.
Oh no, no, it's Sam.
because that's what gets him off in the remakes. And the actress has. Was that me who went a bit glitchy?
Yes.
So try again.
You said the actress gets him off. Sorry. Keep going.
So the actress who played Matilda, Mara Wilson, in the remake.
Oh no.
She
Ever
she
seen my
takes
joke?
She takes a dollar bill up to the judge's bench and hands it over to her. And she's underlined "One Nation Under God," and that basically makes the oh well. If we're saying cut our money that God exists, then Santa must exist. So I think that's worse.
Oh,
Some thinking.
yeah. No, this movie is so stupid. It is the silliest Christmas movie I've ever seen.
Yeah, obviously, yeah. Kind of park your kind of reticence and kind of just go with it. I still find it an enjoyable film. I think it's very watchable.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's light-hearted and stupid, and you're not meant to take it 100% seriously. We will note that just for some various things that it won 3 Academy Awards.
Shouldn't have.
Edmund Gwenn won for Best Actor as Kris Kringle, aka Santa.
Shouldn't have.
Valentine Davis won for the Best Original Story Writing, and then George Seaton won for Best Screenplay. Do you want to put shouldn't have for those as well?
Correct. Should not have.
Okay, there we go.
This is a movie about how you should believe crazy people. We should just open our hearts to... There's the guy in the movie who says, oh, there's a guy who said he was a Russian prince. And then nobody stops to go, wait a second. But that is insane. Why is anybody believing this?
Because he's still a respectable member of society.
I don't care.
I am Batman.
This movie is
call
dumb.
me insane, would you? Actually, you probably would.
If somebody declares themselves to be like Jesus or, some kind of out there mythical figure, do not believe them. They are not. That is how you end up drinking colloidal silver and dying on a bed.
Oh, thanks for that. Beautiful.
Don't join cults, people. This is the thinking that leads to cults.
Is this not a cult?
No, we're a collective. Autonomous collective.
I didn't vote for you. Anyway. Yeah, I would like to point out on the original stuff that therefore Life of Brian is a Christmas movie.
The opening, I will grant you that.
Yeah, and Martha reckons that because it has to include Christmas. Sorry, I just remembered Martha put a comment. Then In Bruges and Kiss Kiss Bang Bang also count as Christmas movies.
I would say...
I mean, most Shane Black films do because he's obsessed with Christmas. So all the stories are at least set at Christmas or referencing it.
Does the Predator happen near Christmas?
On another planet?
No, actually, I think that's one of the rare exceptions. I think there's a scene at Halloween. I seem to remember, but yeah, like Iron Man 3, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, the Nice Guys, yeah, Last Boy Scout, yeah, they all have Christmas in their veins.
Because it's the most wonderful time of the year.
Life of Brian's Easter. It's not Christmas.
Excuse me, what is the opening scene?
What's the opening scene of Ben-Hur? That's not a Christmas movie.
Obviously is.
No, as I've stated, it's got to be consistent. It can't just be one scene in a film.
Shush. What's he saying? That Notting Hill doesn't count now?
Is it only one scene?
You're saying that most of the Harry Potter films don't count now?
Yes. They are not Christmas films. They open in... If we're going by openings, they open in summer.
So basically what I say is no film that takes place over the course of more than one day can be considered a Christmas film.
Well, no, because It's a Wonderful Life is Thanksgiving to Christmas. It's a Christmas movie.
How about The World Is Not Enough? Because one of the characters is Dr. Christmas Jones.
Denise Richards, the nuclear physicist.
It is a Christmas. If there's a
It's
character
Christmas
named
throughout
Christmas,
the film.
it's a Christmas film.
It is. There you go. So Harry Potter doesn't count as a Christmas film, but James Bond: The World Is Not Enough is officially a Christmas film.
I'll give Harry Potter. It does have a cozy castle sort of thing going on that qualifies it more. Like there is themes that I would say are Christmassy compared to other things.
Is Chronicles of Narnia, the first one? Is that a Christmas film?
Yes, Santa appears in it.
Yes,
Yeah.
Gives them presents.
But it's always winter, but never Christmas in Narnia.
I don't care. Santa is in there that gives them presents that helps them in the final battle.
That's true. And
There is more Christmassy stuff in that than It's a Wonderful Life.
Aslan is
I
the
will
reason
argue.
for the season.
Aslan is Jesus. There is Santa in there. It's snowy. Like, I don't know what your issue is.
Well, here's a question. Is It's a Wonderful Life a Christmas movie?
Yes.
It is a Christmassy movie. It is not a Christmas movie.
Culturally, obviously it is. It's not. Anyway, Sam, tell us about it.
Yeah, the original, A Christmas Carol, was.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, very much kind of inspired by that kind of a story.
Is there a movie with Scrooge in his childhood?
Well, some adaptations of Christmas Carol have flashback scenes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's called the whole thing of the Ghost of Christmas Past. Those are the flashback scenes.
Yeah.
That's like
Well, you know what I mean. Like where the whole opening of the movie is we watch his childhood and
Yes, that's the Ghost of Christmas Past.
Yeah. I don't think there's any adaptation where it's like a chronological tale of Scrooge's life, because that'd be really boring.
with an hour of time spent not on the ghosts.
And then you have to go back over the stuff, you know.
Don't give them ideas. I'll do like a Scrooge origin story movie. It's like, you mean A Christmas Carol?
Yeah, but Disney will do it all with lions. Just saying. Anyway,
yeah,
it's a wonderful life.
It's a Wonderful Life, 1946 film. Although I think released
42, isn't it?
No, 46.
Is it 46? Flipping heck.
Yeah, released in a lot of territories in 47 though, because it was released throughout the winter season.
I saw
by
7.
Frank Cap.
Sorry, carry on.
Yeah, no, it's definitely dated 46, but yeah, it was released in a lot of in most territories in 47.
It's 47 film for you, but a 46 film for us, Jacob. So for once, you get it later than we do.
Yeah. So Frank Capra's film. So it's about it's the life and times of George Bailey, played by James Stewart, who's a good guy in a small town who always puts others before his dreams. But he ends up wishing himself out of existence after a particularly bad day, and sees the disastrous consequences of him not being around with the help of his guardian angel. So that's a very brief summary of the hour 15 kind of
Sam,
but basically cradle to grave examination of George Bailey's life.
That would be like describing Star Wars. There's a kid named Luke, and then he goes on to fly an X-wing and blow up the Death Star. You have to skip a lot of this movie before you get to he wishes he had never been born.
I'll be honest, I'd forgotten that was just like the final act, like the last half hour or so. It's you're right. There's a lot there. I do forget that, but I think that's one of the kind of contrasts that makes it work. 'Cause it's like a real kind of turn on its heel, kind of into like bleakness and like the last act. When previously it was all about kind of love thy neighbor and kind of quite sentimental stuff, and just a very romantic view of kind of that era of kind of America, small town America. Am I the one who kind of really misses like a page turning kind of title sequence? So try those, try those classic. We're starting the film now. We're starting the story. Let's open the book with the title on it, and then we'll turn the page.
Shrek do that? There are others. I'm trying to think though.
I know, but I think it used to be quite common in like Disney movies, but when they're all based on kind of well-known kind of stories. But yeah, I quite like for this kind of era of kind of romantic, kind of throwback kind of films. Well, it probably wasn't a throwback in the 40s. It was, what they used to.
It's probably quite innovative at the time.
Yeah, yeah. So though this was, it was not nominated for 5 Academy Awards, including Best Picture, but it was actually received quite mixed reception on its initial release, and was very unsuccessful. Kind of it didn't break even, so it's I think it was what was the difference again? Cost. Cost 3.18 million, only made back 3.3, and probably needed 6, to hit that point. So it wasn't commercially successful. In fact, it killed Frank Capra's kind of production company, Liberty Films, which he established like the previous year, and only. Let's just say it didn't go well as a studio. They only made 2 films, and both were flops. So
what we're saying is that Frank Capra can come out with something and tank a production studio, but Coppola can do exactly the same thing and tank his own American Zoetrope, isn't it? But those films genuinely are awful because he's done it twice to his company. The One from the Heart did it, and then Megalopolis has done it.
Yeah. I mean, Frank Capra was one of the kind of the biggest kind of American directors, kind of in the 30s. He had like a real string of success with when he was working at Columbia. I think a string of about 8 or 9 films. I think kind of hit after hit after hit, and won all his Oscars basically for those. So won Oscars for It Happened One Night and You Can't Take It With You, and then then he had the war where. I'm sure I mentioned before, he did these. He did a series of Why We Fight films, which were essentially propaganda for the American troops. So he denied that they were that. But then after the war, he seemed to kind of change his view on the world a bit, really, and his films became a little bit less kind of. They're still kind of romantic, but kind of less, I suppose, idealized, and possibly a bit more laid, a bit more grown up, I suppose. But they just didn't quite didn't quite translate to the same success with audiences and critics, at least contemporaneously. So the copyright actually expired for this, which I didn't realise until looking at it.
Just jumping in very quickly with the Capra War films, we have actually covered those in a previous episode. Can't remember which one it was, but we have done.
It's when we were looking at war and propaganda, wasn't it?
So if anyone wants to go check those out, they are in our back catalogue somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely curiosities, all available on YouTube, and they're interesting. So I think because this was kind of seen as like a fair at the time, they didn't really bother to renew the copyright, and it went to public domain in '74. Which resulted in it being a perennial favourite to be shown on TV at Christmas, which is where it got kind of a new lease of life in terms of audiences and things. And this way, you got like the god awful colorized versions.
Yeah, I didn't realise there was a colorized version until I cracked open our DVD that technically belongs to the family and found there was a colorized version on disc 1 of the 2 discs. The original is on disc 2. I'm like, why would you do this?
It's an absolute abomination. The only thing worse than this colorized is Laurel and Hardy colorized. It's not right. No, it's horrible. So it's become like a bit of a perennial favorite, kind of a Christmas classic since this, and it's now widely considered kind of one of the great kind of American films. Along with a few of other of Capra's kind of bigger successes. Kind of it didn't see that level of success. When at the time, but kind of it's kind of grown in kind of recognition. Over the decades. I find it interesting that kind of in this era, kind of mid-40s, immediately post-war, you get quite a few films involving angels, kind of helping out mortals, their various issues in life. So there's A Matter of Life and Death, there's The Bishop's Wife, there's a few others, but it seems like after the war, people still like grieving like a lot of obviously a lot of trauma and a lot of lost loved ones. They kind of needs a bit of a lift, a bit of possibly a bit of hope, from kind of otherworldly forces,
I mean, just in general, otherworldly forces and stuff in terms of wartime were a thing anyway. Arthur Markin, who wrote The Great God Pan, amongst many other things, from Wales, so got to big him up, obviously. But he wrote quite a few kind of ghost stories of kind of benevolent ghosts for the trenches of World War One, and even now when the Russia-Ukraine conflict happened, you had essentially people creating the story of the Ghost of Kiev, which was meant to be a phantom plane that would apparently shot down 6 Russian fighter planes, although they revealed about a year ago that, like, yeah, we made that up, which is a shame because I wish they hadn't have done that, just this idea of a ghost plane thing. So the kind of wartime and kind of the supernatural benevolent things is a connection that goes on for a while. And I think it was Constantinople in like 900s when it was being sacked or attacked at one point. There were, because it was meant to be like the new Rome or the third Rome or whatever it is, there were reports that the goddess Athena was prowling the battlements during the siege and things like that. So the relation between kind of wartime and needing lift and kind of benevolent spirits, in this case angels, is a thing which has been going on for throughout the years.
Yeah. And the opening scene of this, it does kind of remind me of A Matter of Life and Death, funnily enough, from the same year. It's like such just like you see in the cosmos, like it looks like stars talking to each other, but really it's angels kind of debating kind of what to do. You know, they've got their target on Earth. You know, we need to keep an eye on this guy. You know, he's going to be doing something important. So they pick a junior angel, Clarence.
Leave it to Sam to bring in a Powell and Pressburger.
Well,
comparison.
Sam, how do these spirits talk to each other? What is the visual?
It's like stars just blinking at each other, essentially.
Blink, blink.
Yeah, at least in The Matter of Life and Death, it's sort of a sweep, like across, like a galaxy kind of visual with like a narration. But there's the same kind of wry kind of look at like humanity and kind of how small we are and kind of insignificant, you know. But yeah, of course, they send the angel in training down here to help George out. Basically, say, look, yeah, he's in trouble now, but we'll show you kind of how he got here first of all, and then we basically start his life. So, you know, start with him playing around as a kid. He falls through some ice trying to rescue his younger brother, and becomes deaf in one ear on the back of that. You see him meet up with his future wife Mary, who kind of falls in love with him while they were kids. I mean, there's a nice little kind of tracking of their relationship. You know, kind of the various points where they declare their feelings for each other. So they're about like 10 when she kind of whispers into his deaf ear that George Bailey, I'll love you until the day you die. And it's when it's like their kind of graduation dance that he professed that. What is it you want, Mary? You want the moon? Just say the word, and I'll throw a lasso around it and pull it down. So different levels of kind of declaring your love for each other, but basically they're kind of soulmates from the beginning, and I think for me it's one that was one of the really kind of compelling kind of movie romances out there. You know, I think that they've got real chemistry, and essentially this is like a big kind of sweeping romance. You know, with that kind of with a guy, just. I mean, the only thing I suppose he puts first in his life is his family. You know, it's kind of that happy kind of home life, that relationship. But otherwise, he'll put aside any other dreams, to help out his neighbours and stay in a small town and give up on things as long as he can help out his fellow man.
There's also the bullies that open up the swimming pool so that specifically Jimmy Stewart will fall in.
Yeah.
They keep doing the Charleston on it as it's opening.
Yeah. I mean, that's a nice little gag. I mean, I think there's quite a few funny moments, I think, in Frank Capra films, and it's so and that's going to be a big Charleston contest, and they both kind of sheepish. So, I'm not very good at this, so neither am I. And well, they're great at it, and. But then, as you say, as the floor opens to reveal the pool underneath. By the way, is this a thing in the States?
I was going to say, I would like a pool. Like our high school didn't have a pool. So we didn't get swimming lessons. Our primary school, we had to be
No.
bussed to the next town over, half an hour bus ride away.
See, we did have a pool, but it was like a big concrete basin. Basically, it was like
Yeah.
it was just like a hole in the ground filled with concrete with a shed around it. It wasn't nothing like this. But yeah, you have to go back. Kind of, they think like the crowd's reacting to how good their dancing is, and there's several like kind of near misses, where they're dancing, backing off, cutting close to the edge, and then they come back again and they do it again. And then eventually they fall in and everyone joins them, and isn't it a big laugh?
It is a fun scene, I'll give it that.
Yeah. So yeah, obviously eventually they, after a few kind of false starts in their relationship, and various dreams being crushed and everything, they do settle down. They have kids together. All this time, George Bailey is kind of keeping his dad's company afloat. So the building and loan companies. So essentially, they're not a bank. They're kind of lenders. They'll help people. But buy the houses. And it's sort of like a community-based kind of thing to keep people afloat. Of course, it's under the watchful eye of a Potter who's the Scrooge, Mr. Burns kind of millionaire who just wants to buy up everything and is an absolute shit.
Always got to have one.
Yeah, and he's
his dad looked like John Huston also, and also
he did a bit, yeah.
Very much like could have been Jimmy Stewart's dad.
Yeah.
That was good.
So Potter's played by Lionel Barrymore. It's a bit of a change in pace for him because he worked with Capra on a couple of other films, but usually his go-to was like kindly old men, and just to play Potter in this, I think must have been a real kind of refreshing kind of change of pace for him. Just play this irredeemable kind of horrible creature. He was a very well regarded kind of actor, kind of on stage and screen, but kind of had to. They were still very active throughout the 30s and into the 40s. He was a lot more limited by the kinds of roles that he could take on because he had crippling arthritis, basically. So he was, and he can't take it with you. He's that they wrote in that his character broke his leg, so he's kind of on crutches throughout the film. And in this, he's obviously in a wheelchair, but he just found moving around that difficult by that point. They usually wrote it into his characters that he had mobility problems.
Can I just say he would have also, instead of Mr. Potter, done actually a very good Churchill impression?
Yeah,
like he has kind of the facial structure and the jowls for it for some reason.
Yeah.
So when he was like sat down, just like that's just Churchill with an American accent. It's so weird.
Yeah. This is one of the rare films where the villain actually gets away with it, and I've sort of I kind of theorised, and I think other people have, that basically Potter gets away with this because he ends up essentially robs the Bailey family, because so he's got this George got his absent-minded uncle. He gets shots of memory loss, he's always forgetting things, and a key point, basically the catalyst of their eventual misery is taking the deposit from their company down to paying at the bank, and he's getting ready to cash it. He's written out his deposit slip, and then Potts comes in, and he's kind of talking to him, gesturing with the paper, and he puts the envelope in the paper and gives it back to Potter, and obviously loses it, which basically cause the bank to want to foreclose on them. So Potter essentially kind of steals. Potter realizes what's happened and essentially steals the money. And normally in a film like this, in this era, in say very much in Code era, you'd have the villain being punished for it, but he's not really. He's just as far as we know, he gets away with it. And I kind of theorize that's because he's a capitalist, basically. It's like if this was a poor person, stealing, they'd have had to learn the lesson by the end of the day. But because this is a rich guy just being competitive, trying to get one over, in the market, then they kind of let that one slide. So
I was going to say, it's like that would be very bad for America if the hard-working kind of industrious money kind of obsessed people that prove with hard work and guile you can get far in life. If they were given their comeuppance, it wouldn't really work, would it?
Yeah. Apparently, the FBI issued a memo regarding this. Kind of in terms of like how dangerous could it be for the the general populace to watch it. And they said,
For what reason?
We've deregulated the capital market.
So, with regard to the picture, It's a Wonderful Life, the film has a rather obvious attempt to discredit bankers by casting Lionel Barrymore as a Scrooge type, so that he will be the most hated man in the picture. This, according to our sources, is a common trick used by communists. In addition, this picture deliberately maligned the upper class, attempting to show people who had money were mean and despicable characters.
Now I want to see Soviet It's a Wonderful Life, where they're like, maybe potato not so bad. And like they go to the other reality and they're like rich, but they're constantly being robbed and their wife's cheating on them, stuff like that.
Yeah, it's all set in kind of brutalist architecture.
Yeah.
Like almost like possession style architecture, it's all just grey, drab stuff. Tarkovsky's It's a Wonderful Life. 3 hours of not much.
Oh, I need it now. And most of it is the social realist opening before he's only in the the capitalist hellhole for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
No, the angel only appears with 5 minutes to go, and it's all done in one shot.
It's not an angel; it's actually an agent from the state who has like a portal.
Yeah, I mean, the first half, kind of 2/3 of this is essentially as I've said, it's George Bailey kind of putting his life on hold, and kind of obviously kind of it just works slowly for his life through his life that could have been kind of something else, but he puts on hold, to help out his neighbors and his friends, and it's basically the little man standing up to the big businessman, basically, which obviously you see quite a few of these kind of from this era of kind of Hollywood.
The small businessman standing up to the big businessman.
Yeah, essentially.
Because he is a moneylender, like
he is, but they're very keen to show. So he says, "Oh, don't worry about it. This is you just get it to me whenever I can."
He's benevolent.
He refuses people
He's an awful businessman.
Bad.
He refuses people kind of signing kind of agreements on like terms for these loans and everything.
Don't worry about that. You can get it back to me. I'm not doing my Jimmy Stewart impression. It's not happening.
I'll make you change for a loan. Here's 25 cents.
Yeah. I mean, this point where basically, they're about to go out of business and they've got to keep cash flowing with whatever cash they've got left in the safe, until the close of business, to keep afloat. And he's literally basically it's like a run on the bank essentially, and everyone's trying to get their money that they've kind of deposited in there out, and he's saying, "Oh no, we're supposed to support each other, and this, I don't have that kind of cash on me here, but I'll happily issue whatever you need to get you through until the bank opens tomorrow." And they're all keying up and he's saying, "What do you actually need to survive? Oh, I'll take $20. I'll take $5." And this absolute dreadful person says, "Well, I'll take $240.
$240?
Because that's what I got in this place." But then you have like obviously after his particularly bad day, where his uncle loses all the money, and there's a financial inspector in, and essentially he's fearing that he'll be in prison for embezzlement. He arrives home and to his idyllic family home with all his happy children in the lead up on Christmas Eve, and he has a big old meltdown, and I find it like a really kind of quite visceral, upsetting sequence, where he basically just lets rip and kicks over chairs, and it's kind of another side, and basically just you completely lose it. At which point he runs off into the night and contemplates suicide, and then Clarence turns up at the opportune moment to fall into the river to get George to save him, and thereby not kill himself. And then you get the Christmas Carol / Back to the Future 2 kind of version of events here. What would life be like without George Bailey? And he realizes all the small acts of kindness he's been responsible for over the years have had an impact, greater than anything he could have imagined.
Yeah, it's quite funny because literally, like, the point of this film literally is that it's all about the friends we made along the way.
Yeah, it is.
Well, the thing for me is that's the plot. So I'm expecting that to kick in the whole time I'm watching this. And I could tell it's a better movie than Miracle on 34th Street, but my expectations, I'm sitting there going, why am I watching him take over the business now that his dad is dead? When are we going to get to the part where the angel's here?
The Christmas part.
When are we getting to the Christmas? And then it's never. It might as well not happen.
It happens to be set on, it's a kind of thing where it's kind of originally based on the Christmas Carol. The story that they used as a basis was based on a Christmas Carol, or specifically kind of the fourth stave, which is the Ghost of Christmas Yet to Come. And it happens to be set on Christmas Eve. But literally you can set this on August 12th and it doesn't make pretty much any difference. It's an atmosphere rather than a kind of feeling of goodwill at the end rather than a thing. And I guess obviously setting it in the middle of December works for the kind of bleakness of Bailey near the end. But in terms of, does this have any relevance to the plot? No, not really.
Well, Sam, you also talked about how, like, it has the nice romance, which it does. I kept finding myself saying, it is a wonderful life. Why does he need a wizard to show him this?
An angel, please.
I meant God.
Yeah. They used, just like a few little bits of trivia about the film, that they used a firefighting chemical for their artificial snow, essentially. So it's why. But basically, there's that scene where when they've dived into the river, he's rescuing Currents. That's why when Currents kind of rears up out of the water, it looks like his face is covered in foam, because it's what you get in like fire extinguishers they're using for their fake foam. Apparently, before this, they used to use coloured cornflakes. They used to use paint cornflakes white and sprinkle them that way. But they couldn't do that. Works in silent films, but they were too loud for sound pictures. Apparently,
strange that.
Yeah. The set for Bedford Falls, which is the town they live in. It was all amazingly not there isn't any location shooting in this. They built the full town. It was one of the biggest sets on the RKO kind of backcourt. Included 75 stores and buildings, a main street, and a main street that was 300 yards long. So,
by the way, I've just discovered Beverly Hills High School is where the swimming pool thing was in It's a Wonderful Life, and apparently it is still open. And as far as I can see, possibly that the swimming pool is still in use. Imagine just watching It's a Wonderful Life filmed nearly 80 years ago and going, oh my God, that's my high school gym. That's gotta be terrifying. Everybody's watched by hundreds of millions. It's like, that's my high school gym.
That scene's got me thinking. It's like there could be an interesting kind of new competitive sport there. Dance, starts off as a dance competition. You gotta move quick before the floor opens.
No, Sam will know what I mean by the bleep test.
Yes,
but you do a version of that where you have to almost like long jump it, and every time everyone gets across, you widen it a bit more, and if you miss, you kind of fall in, almost like an episode of Gladiators kind of thing.
Yeah.
And you widen it each time, and it's kind of last person that can jump the gap wins, instead of the bleep test of the person who can run it.
Yeah, I do like how they make Donna Reed look like a sad old spinster in the alternate reality section just by tying her hair up and putting glasses on her.
That's normally how it works. It hasn't changed even in 2024.
Yeah. So she's become a librarian out of misery, and just the kind of
I mean, that's still how you make a young female come out of her shell and suddenly become attractive, isn't it? You take the glasses off and let her hair down, and suddenly everything is she's attractive now, and the main character falls in love with her.
Yeah. Debatably, Jimmy Stewart wasn't the biggest star in this. We also had Jimmy the Raven,
Yeah.
who appears in over 1,000 feature films in the 30s, 40s. And I didn't realize that he was actually in every Capra film from 38 onwards, basically. So like the last decade of his filmmaking always had a role in it for Jimmy the Raven.
Flipperneck, who is apparently uncredited.
Yeah. He was the Crow in Wizard of Oz as well, by the way. He was the one who kind of lands on the Scarecrow.
Miracle on 34th Street also has a lot of uncredited people, and I don't understand why. Those poor actors.
Yeah.
Miracle on 34th Street, about 500 of the uncredited actors were the flipping postmen that had to come in with all the bags of post and dump it on the desk.
Snowman.
Yeah. The final scene, well, in fact, the whole kind of last sequence, the snowstorm, essentially, it was filmed in a scorching July. so usually had to layer up in all this winter clothes and kind of run through it. And you can see him like visibly sweating like towards the end, because it's just. I mean, I think they actually had to give the cast and crew a day off because the heat wave was like that at one point the next day. Right, let's go back to pretending we're in the dead of winter.
It never seems to be. It always seems to be like that. Where it's when we need it to be cold, it's scorching hot, and when we need it to be sort of.
Oh yeah. With the classic, I always love.
In the desert,
I always love looking out for a beach scene, which was clearly filmed in February, and people trying not to shiver in their swimming costumes.
Yeah, I mean,
that was like a yellow filter or something, don't they?
I mean, when I was working on My Happy Ending, we had to do a beach carnival scene, and we did a few bits of CGI for the wider shots. But very simply, try filming like a kind of, almost like a not Burning Man, but kind of a big kind of hippie festival atmosphere kind of thing. On a beach in Wales in the end of September. But a beach in Wales in June or July is not the warmest thing in the world to begin with. Later on, it's just kind of miserable,
How much did it rain?
It didn't rain at all for that bit, but when we had to try and do a kind of very glitzy and glamoury kind of Hollywood premiere that we mocked up on the Aberystwyth University steps, that it chucked down all day, which is why in the final film, most of the cast are still in the car and kind of talking to Andy McDowell from the car, when the original plot was them to be standing outside, and they just decided we're not getting out in the rain. So we had to change how we shot it. So weather does impact things, and any filmmakers try and get all your outside stuff scheduled earlier on in the shoot, because then if stuff goes wrong, you can film the inside stuff then and reschedule your outside shoots.
By the way, Amelia, sorry, haven't read the chat yet.
Welcome
I was
back.
trying to see if we could get through this movie, but Amelia says It's a Wonderful Life is a crock of poop. The wife ends up an old crone, unmarried and lame. It's like saying she'd never marry without him. And the Beverly Hills gym pool's in a deleted scene in Hocus Pocus. So there you go.
Yeah, apparently, according to Wikipedia, it's also been used in things like Clueless as well. And apparently it's the same school that Gordon Ramsay's daughter goes to as well. So in the one episode of Hell's Kitchen where they have to do her prom, they all come from that same school that It's a Wonderful Life was shot at, which is really weird.
My favourite piece of It's a Wonderful Life trivia was that James Stewart and Donna Reed, both from small towns. So Stewart from Indiana and Reed from Denison. She demonstrates her rural roots by winning an impromptu bet with Lionel Barrymore when he challenged her to milk a cow on set.
Wow.
I don't know whether that was in between kind of setups for scenes, or whether they put aside some time specifically for that, where they got the cow from or anything. But yeah, that must have livened things up.
You get some weird stuff like that, like on the set of Tower of London. You've got Basil Rathbone, was it Bela Lugosi or Boris Karloff? I can't remember which one of the other it was. And then Vincent,
I think, yeah.
and then Vincent Price was there as well. And it was one of Vincent Price's first kind of bigger roles with the kind of the big stars. And there's a scene where they have a drinking contest, and the kind of a drink off, and essentially Karloff and Rathbone just got these massive barrels and shot it with the most vile like alcohol concoction they could do. So like one drink was absolutely lethal. Apparently Vincent Price had no idea, took one drink and just passed flat out like for like 12 hours solid, and they were just making fun of him the entire time, and it's almost like a hazing ritual. But that's a good challenge. Milk a cow on set.
Yeah, so I mean, personally, look, I don't know with this kind of film where it's kind of you kind of need to see it kind of several times growing up to have like the affection for it. Maybe coming to it later with like a modern eye possibly doesn't help matters. I think you either get the tone and the sentiment, or you don't. You know, I mean, I like these kinds of films anyway. You know, like kind of what if kind of stories, and I like Capra's stuff in general. You know, it is kind of romanticized and idealized, but I think he's good at working with actors. I think that they're always good performances. There's always humor, you know, to offset like the darkness in this, especially. I think this one of James Stewart's kind of finest roles. I mean, I think there's very few people who kind of show like a degradation of someone kind of so much, just someone being worn down, you know, for a long time as well as he did, you know.
I was going to say very good practice for Vertigo.
Yeah.
In terms of, although as is it Epic Rap Battles of History? Spielberg reckons that Hitchcock just produces Jimmy Stewart making two faces, and admittedly he has kind of happy or a little bit confused, and that's about it. Just so his face might be more confused.
You have On the Verge of Tears as well. Three faces. Let's give
no, don't do that. And what the hell are you doing around here? That's it. He's got kind of happy or that's all he's got. He does them perfectly, but that's it. And that's all the Jimmy Stewart impression you're getting, Jacob. That's it.
Yeah.
This is definitely one I need to rewatch now that I know what to expect. But what I'm waiting for is, when is the stuff that I know about going to happen? And I didn't realize that we needed 15 minutes of him wearing a football sweater with his high school sweetheart, because they're going to get, I was like, come on, what are we doing here? So
admittedly, that is like reading Moby Dick and going, where is the whale?
But at least I know about that stuff in Moby Dick.
Either that or watching The Wicker Man the first time and going, where is the Wicker Man? I have 10 minutes left. They have a vague mention of it in passing. I have still seen no Wicker Man.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose the strongest section in this is the final act, is the denouement, isn't it? But I do still really like the rest of it. Is one of my go-to seasonal favorites. You know, it makes me feel all warm inside, and that's me. You know.
And as long as you found the friends along the way, that's the important thing. No, it is. I wouldn't say it's like an instant Christmas classic for whatever reason. I obviously know why it's become like that. It's because it was essentially everyone managed to shove it on the TV screens. Hence the reason why Night of the Living Dead was on absolutely every TV screen in every horror movie, because they didn't essentially copyright it. It is a decent film, and Jimmy Stewart is very good in it. Although I'm always going to back Jimmy Stewart, you know me. I can see why people dislike it. I can also see why people go, this is not a Christmas movie. It's just a film that happens to take place near Christmas. I think possibly the messages and the morals and the whole kind of angel.
The important bit takes place at Christmas.
Yeah.
And also, like, I didn't know this was Capra, to be honest, but like watching it, I could tell that this is one of the better directors of the era. And then it's Capra. So
I mean, he's very kind of technically gifted, you know, really kind of eye for detail and everything, and like I said, very good at working with like his favorite kind of cast members. I mean, he worked with Jimmy Stewart at least 3 times, might have been 4, I can't remember now.
And the lighting is it's so much more striking, like the blacks and stuff in this versus I think Miracle on 34th Street's really gray, and it's just kind of practical.
There is that scene where he gives another like random kind of little nugget of information. There's that scene where where Josh Bell is helping that Italian family, move into their new home. Giving lots of welcome and everything. A very kind of loud, boisterous Italian family, and that was basically Frank Capra says, "I'll just depict my family on screen." So basically, just signed all these actors. This is what my family do in this situation. Yeah, there are about this many of us, and this is what we do. This is how we act, and the dad would do this, the mum would do that.
Admittedly, I was watching it. There's the bit where he turns around and asks about his wife, whose name I've forgotten, and it's near the end. Yeah, and at one point, literally goes, "Where is she?" And all I could think of was Batman. Where is she?
Where is she?
And I'm going to find it online somewhere and do a side by side. Where is she? Where is she? Kind of comparison as a TikTok video.
But both would be hilarious, wouldn't they? If you put Batman's line in Jim Stewart's mouth, and if you put Jim Stewart's line in Batman's mouth, both
mock it up.
Where are the drugs?
Would be equally hilarious.
No, It's a Wonderful Life, but with Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
Where his parents get shot and then he contemplates suicide or something like that. I don't know. And the Joker has to save him on that.
Yeah. Right. I think we've spent enough time in the mid 1940s now. Shall we?
Yeah.
Real quick, we're gonna fast forward to the 90s. Amelia says the whole cast
80s.
of the 90s. The whole cast of Clueless was clueless. Look at the cast. Only Paul Rudd was successful, even to this day. Even the brother who ended up being John in Garfield. And then, also, Amelia asked for our thoughts on The Wicker Man. I mean, the Nicolas Cage one specifically, it sucks. But
to quote my cousin, I wouldn't wipe my ass with it.
It's very funny.
I think if you go for unintentional comedy, it's a good one. It's a good one to stick on that party. But yeah.
I think
I'm not that sadistic.
The hot take is that it's a better B movie than B movie, and I disagree. B movie is a better B movie.
Wow. Yeah. Come on, honey.
Now we can rewind.
Yep, to 1982. I don't know why you're saying the 90s, Jacob.
Clueless.
I mean, we'd have been watching it in the 90s, but.
I think I was as well. I have particular affection for this because my grandmother had it on a videotape when I was very little. So I was watching this from about the age of 1.5, maybe.
Did you ever have the Raymond Briggs books read to you growing up as well?
No, I didn't. You can't because there aren't any words in the Snowman.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, well, we'll say read to you. Did you have the pages turned for you so you could look at the pretty pictures?
I think we did have a big version of it, a big kind of full page version of this, or a version of it, if not the original. But no, I have this very much in my kind of thing. So all the scenes and the specific bits of the music.
And there was a version on cassette tape as well, which was narrated. So that was.
The weird thing is that some versions have an introduction by David Bowie. And the later versions do not. So we now have it on DVD and there is no David Bowie. But I distinctly remember David Bowie introducing it. And it was only many, many, many years later, I'm not a Bowie person myself, that somebody goes, yeah, that was David Bowie. And I'm like, was it? Was it? Because I have no idea who he was.
Yeah, and in that version, was he meant to be like the grown-up version of the boy?
I think so. Who was called James in this, but wasn't in the book and was never named in the book. Yeah.
That was super weird. It was. I didn't understand it.
So that was not in the original.
So you two, if having rewatched this and watched the first time, Jacob, did you both see the version with Bowie in it?
Here's the thing. I didn't rewatch this again because it's so ingrained in my cultural consciousness, and we now watch it every year anyway. That it's kind of like if you'd asked me what film kind of do you think I have probably seen more than any, not that I can remember seeing, but I have seen more than any other film, The Snowman would be it, because again I used to watch this in July when I was 3 years old. That's the kind of thing that this film is for me. Some people used to do that with Star Wars. For me it was The Snowman.
I feel a bit close to the other Raymond Briggs adaptation, Father Christmas, which is normally on TV on Christmas morning. Where basically Santa, voiced by Bob Hoskins, tries to go on holiday unsuccessfully.
Yeah, but no, I have this very much in me. So it is based on the 70s, 1978 picture book by Raymond Briggs. And it was originally a TV movie. It was on Channel 4, got nominated for Best Animated Short at the 55th Academy Awards and won a BAFTA TV Award. It's dialogueless aside from the introduction from David Bowie.
Is David Bowie also the guy walking? Or is that just a guy?
I think he's just in the beginning. I have no idea.
But whenever there's an old dude walking out in the snow, is he like just a random person, or is that David Bowie?
I think he's a random person. I think Bowie's meant to be the grown-up version of the boy.
I think so. Yeah.
Is the person walking supposed to be the grown-up version of the boy?
I have no idea.
I mean, it was very confusing because I knew it was animated. So.
Yeah. Obviously that part wasn't in the original book, so it was added. It was probably added to give a little bit of context, give a famous face to it, a little bit of draw power for obviously. It was on December 26th, so you're going to need a reason to turn on the TV. So perhaps that was an additional draw for Channel 4. Yeah, it's about a boy who just before Christmas goes and it starts snowing, and he goes to have some fun and builds a snowman. Goes to sleep and wakes up one night, and the snowman comes to life, and they have lots of adventures. He takes him round and introduces him to the house. Keep away from the fire. Cat's scared of him, that kind of thing. Snowman has great fun discovering what a light switch does, testing out different noses, stuff like that.
Can we say it's like a panther-sized cat? Like they drew it to be the world's largest house cat.
Yeah. And then they have an adventure on a motorbike because obviously the snowman, despite not knowing how a light switch works, know how to ride a motorbike or a motorcycle.
Well, you've got to have a responsible adult riding the bike. You couldn't have the boy doing it because
obviously not. And comes back, and then sort of at a certain point, the snowman pulls him along, and we get Walking in the Air. So this is where Walking in the Air comes from. Jacob, had you heard the song Walking in the Air before?
So was that song like in Welsh or something? Because I could not understand.
The singer's Welsh.
Well, it was written for this.
I'm glad you asked me this because my note on that was like, what is this song?
It was recorded by a young boy who
Alan Jones.
No, the version for the film was not done by Alan Jones. It was done by somebody else. But so they then released
by the world's last castrato or something.
Well, they then released it as it was a choir boy, so it was meant to be that high. But when they released it as a single, they got a young boy then known Alan Jones, who was a Welsh singer, young choir boy, to do the single version, and that has now made people think that he was on the Snowman, and he actually wasn't. It was a different singer.
I didn't know that. Well, there you go.
Yeah, but it's quite funny because then for decades and decades afterwards, the only thing anyone knows Alan Jones for is Walking in the Air, despite the fact he's done many kind of classical, opera kind of things and stuff like that, and he still does it. And he gets fed up with anybody asking about the Snowman. But in later years, he's gone it has essentially given me a kickstart to my career as a classically trained opera singer and all that kind of thing. And now Classic FM every year does a thing where they essentially use all the music from this because it's essentially a musical with animations, and he will do a narration over the top of it. And so he has kind of walked into it. Yeah, but it wasn't originally Alan Jones on the Snowman. He only essentially did the re-recording for the single. But yeah,
real
so they
quick,
have
Amelia, we discussed The Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe is a Christmas film. Is that where we landed?
It has Santa, it has Jesus Aslan. Santa gives gifts in a snowy winterland that help us save the day. I don't know how it's not a Christmas film.
Boom. All right.
Like it's more Christmassy than It's a Wonderful Life. With the same amount of snow, and it actually has Santa. What more do you want? Like, I don't know the thing. But yeah, fun fact also, Walking in the Air is the favorite piece of music for Tuomas Holopainen, who is the main guy behind the band Nightwish.
I see why they're banned.
Have they ever done a cover version of it?
Album 2 or 3, they did do a cover of Walking in the Air. It is very good,
Awesome,
actually. They bring in the full guitars and everything right at the end, with like the synths and stuff. It's quite fun. It's like, oh yes, I can finally listen to this like for about 2 weeks of the year, because when it's in July, you're like, this isn't really kind of the thing. Next, but yeah, they go up, they fly around what they think was probably based on Brighton. So the town there's a big pier, and both Nicholas Briggs and who did the music? Was it Howard? It's not Howard Shaw, who is it? Who did the Howard Blake? That's it. I knew it was a Howard. They both lived in the area, if not in Brighton, then around it, so they think it was Brighton. And the snowman drags the kid up to the North Pole, where there's a load more snowmen, and Santa's there, and they have a big
penguins in the North Pole. They're not penguins.
So flying snowman you're fine with, but penguins in the North Pole, that's where you draw the damn line.
Actually, I'm not fine with flying snowman either. That's not in Snowman lore. Frosty does not fly. He marches.
I think we're breaking some law with all of these films. Santa is not called Kris Kringle. I don't know about any law for It's a Wonderful Life. There's probably some laws broken. Theft.
There's the stuff about angels getting their wings, isn't there?
Every time a bell rings, they go meet Santa, have a big thing, and then it's getting near the end of the night. So the snowman magically brings him all the way back down, hundreds, if not 1,000 odd mile, in about 30 seconds, all the way back home again. The kid goes back upstairs, and the snowman's there waiting for him. When the kid wakes up again, he rushes straight outside, and sadness of sadness, spoilers, the snowman has melted. And it's just a really sad ending. It's devastating.
I mean, as much as I'm emotionally affected by It's a Wonderful Life, the snowman is sadder.
Yeah. The fact it had all these wonderful adventures come back and the snowman has melted. There's an M&M's advert on the UK TV at the moment where they've created a snowman, they're bringing inside, and he's slowly melting inside, a bit like Olaf, from Frozen. It's like really weird. I reckon they got that from this. It's an interesting one because it was kind of pitched to Channel 4, and they're like, we kind of don't know what we're doing with this, so they added things in. So they added things in to make it a little bit longer. The thing with the motorcycle wasn't in the book. I think a lot of the things to do with Santa wasn't in the book, and apparently Raymond Briggs has been on record going, it's a bit weird and a bit twee because my story just happened to be set in the snow, had nothing to do with Christmas. I can see why they did it, and it works, but it's a bit kind of like, it's a bit corny in a way. I think the great thing with this is that it is kind of weird that every year, this is on British TV pretty much every year, almost every channel will try and get it at some point, and it's like a 80s hand-drawn animation with no dialogue, and it is considered, and it's a short film as well, like 27 minutes, and it's still considered watchable. Like you never get this now.
I mean, it's so ingrained in our culture. They did a sequel a few years ago, didn't they?
Yeah, I think I've seen it once. Put it this way, I refuse to watch it so much I can't remember whether I have seen it. I think I have. I refuse to know what happens and goes on with it. But again, because it's so part of my childhood.
I remember it being fine, but not worth revisiting.
And again, this one, again, because I was watching it so much when I was like 2, 3, 4 years old, like there's a certain magic about this that I will hear random snatches of music just somewhere, and it's a bit like, is it Peter and the Wolf, where they had it all, where it's pretty much all animation then all music. It is a similar thing to that, but it's hand drawn. And I will say that as much as Jacob's like, I don't like the snowman flying and stuff like that, and the panther is big, like how beautiful is it to see a whole like 26 odd minute film made out of literally coloring pencil animations. It's like there's a craft in there that's just magic.
And it's a lovely idea just to completely faithfully recreate kind of Rain Briggs kind of that style of drawing, you know.
Yeah, because they could have done it in 3D. They could have done a live action. They could have just done almost like a Disney style animation. But no, we'll do an animation style that. And now if you see anything kind of similar, you'll just go, that's like the Snowman. You know, it could have been done like 20 years earlier ago. It feels like it. It's so unique visually, with all this music that's full orchestral score, and it's just something completely different to all the other Christmas films and all the other films that are out there now. And again, it's still considered kind of, you know, kids in the UK are growing up on it, that they've seen it and things like that. And it's like, this was a short film animated with no dialogue on TV. Like, this is like astonishing that it got made to begin with, because it's like, okay. And aside from Bowie at the beginning, obviously there's no like main actors. You can't even have like a main voice actor in there somewhere to draw the crowds in. Like, you imagine trying to pitch this now, you'd get laughed out of the flipping building. Like, it's not going to work. I mean, I'm still surprised that Ghost Story for Christmas is going on, because it's like the BBC is still funding short horror films. But at least then, you know, you've got actors that people have heard of. Then it's still kind of, you know, live action. You know, it's not the animated thing. So I still find it astonishing that this is even a thing to begin with, that they went ahead and did it, because it's a complete gamble on if it's even going to get views or not, or be remembered, because it has almost nothing kind of going for it in a way, aside from the success of the original book. But yeah, it's I think, again, I'm very much biased, because it's part of my growing up and part of kind of my personal culture in a way. But I still think it's a wonderful thing to watch, and it's part of the family's kind of thing. We watch it every Christmas Eve along with Muppets Christmas Carol. So we watched kind of the two back to back, and it's just a wonderful little thing. It's not too long. The animation's beautiful. Yes, you do have to believe that snowmen can come to life and fly with Father Christmas and have big dances.
It's not the come to life I have an issue with. It's the flying. The flying is the problem.
I'm sorry. If you can believe a snowman can come to life, then it can fly. Like, I don't know. Like,
no,
where are you drawing the line?
Snowmen can come to life because you put hats on them and then they come to life. That's established snowman stuff. But it's like, yeah, that's in the Frosty song. It's like vampires sparkling. It's just not a thing. Don't do it.
Yeah, even vampire lore had to be developed at some point.
Sure, but this is not the snowman flying is not the way to develop snowman lore.
Okay,
Maybe focus on their ice powers.
What we've established here is that Jacob will not complain about an awful lot of things in an awful lot of movies, but in an animated short film, he will complain about the fact that snowmen flying is not an established part of snowmen lore.
Maybe if it flew like the Silver Surfer, where it's leaving a snow trail behind, you know, something like that.
This is a strange argument to be having. Did anything else? Did you have complaints about anything else aside from the snowman flying?
No, it was really just the flying that bothered me, and the orange for the nose. Y'all don't do that either. Who thought the orange was a good idea?
To be honest, it was probably a thing where a carrot doing it would look weird and too hard to draw. Whereas
the only thing I can think of is that if they've sort of changed it to like Christmas setting, a Satsuma in a Christmas stocking is kind of a British thing, you know. That's the only thing I can kind of think of.
No,
you know?
I think the snowman, he had a orange for a nose to begin with. I would actually think possibly also, if you're trying to design a snowman that's meant to be kind of cuddly and attractive for kids as a kind of almost guardian-like figure, then the nose as something kind of spiky in a way might be a little bit detracting from the kind of round kind of in a way that kind of almost like, you know, Mickey Mouse, there's lots of curves on there. In a way, it'd be like if Mickey had kind of pointed ears for a mouse, it wouldn't be as a word.
Mickey Mouse is just a series of circles, isn't it?
Yeah. Epic rap battles of history again, with only 3 circles like dominate the planet, you know. It's terrifying. But yeah, I love this. It's ingrained in me, and I'll watch it every year. And
Yeah,
probably, if
so
I
do
have
I.
access, to it, I will probably watch it every year for the rest of my life. It's one of
Yeah.
those that.
Yeah, I think I probably last saw it a couple of years ago. I probably needs a revisit. Yeah, look forward to it.
I will probably never see it again. But
Oh,
of the three, it was my best experience. So
Because it was only 26 minutes long.
no, for a lot of the
What-
reasons you said, Kieran.
was it your best experience as well, Kieran?
Yeah. Again, because it is the nearest to a childhood film that I have.
Oh, okay. I'll go. It's a Wonderful Life, but closely followed by The Snowman. There's not really a lot in it.
Amelia is imagining a remake of Miracle on 34th Street where it's Mrs. Claus in the parade and not Santa, and a female lawyer falling for the mother of the little girl. And
Or we're doing a gender-swapped Miracle on 34th
yeah,
Street.
well, Mrs. Claus is played by Ellen DeGeneres in this version.
Oh, God, no.
She seems more elfy. I was thinking Melissa McCarthy would play the drunk one, though.
Yeah.
I will take that, yeah. No, you'd have to do something like weird and offbeat, like have Mrs. Claus played by Lady Gaga, just to see what would happen. Like, because I could see her passing it off. No, Lady Gaga is the lawyer, maybe.
Yeah, she's the lawyer and the mom. They're one character now.
Oh my God, no! You're saying they're all the same thing. It's like Monty Python does Miracle on 34th Street. John Cleese is just like the little girl and Santa in the same scene, having to jump back and forth between shots.
Terry Jones is the old women.
Yeah.
Yes.
Eric Idle is the judge, you know.
Yeah. No, Terry Jones will be all the women.
I am the judge of this court. Well, I didn't vote for you.
All right. Well,
we're falling off the wagon now. Let's wrap this up.
That's it for this version of Christmas Classics. Maybe we'll do another one. I don't know. Probably not, though. There's other ways to approach Christmas movies. But we'll be back next week with something else. Until then, guys,
probably, I don't know if we'll do one next week.
Oh,
probably the week after.
It's Christmas next week.
Well,
we'll be back the week.
Yeah,
we're back for New Year.
We'll do one at some point. Until then, where can people find you?
You can find me at SSP Thinks Film and at the Film Magazine, where I've published a review of the new Lord of the Rings animation, The War of the Rohirrim, this week. For you to check out. If you want more Frank Capra related musings, then earlier this year I did a Where to Start with Frank Capra. So the three films that you should introduce you to his work. Spoiler: none of them are It's a Wonderful Life. As much as I like it, I wouldn't recommend it as a starting point.
It probably is a lot of people's starting point, but without knowing.
Yeah. True.
Hopefully you don't find me anywhere, but if you do, I'm Cage Judgmental in the various places. I have done a retrospective review of The Towering Inferno that is currently up on the site, and at some point there will be an updating to my Ghost Story for Christmas rankings when the Christmas Eve one.
I've got the first volume of those to watch this year. So
when I was at the MR James conference in April, we had a screening of the second one, One to the Curious, along with Whistle Will Come to You, My Lad. One to the Curious is still the best one. It's so good. But yeah, we should also say that along with all these things, please follow Second Cut on all the social media platforms.
Yeah. It's at Second Cut Pod.
Yeah, in various places: YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, X, Blue Sky.
Yeah,
all the places.
You can email us at secondcutpod@gmail.com. You can find me at Jacob Film Guy. I wrote a review of Luca Guadagnino's Queer, which is out here. I don't.
Can we just praise Jacob for writing something?
Yeah. If only I should have done challengers as well, but oh well. Now I wrote about what I think of that movie in comparison in the review, though. So if you want to know, go read it.
Challengers is good.
Yeah, Challengers is good. But let's see. You already said all the follow us at Second Cut Pod stuff. Down in the description, you can donate to the film magazine and our PayPal, or you could buy Christmas presents from TFM and our Redbubble link. And I guess
Zavi as well. I think we're also got the thing from as well.
Yeah. And that is it. Thank you for listening, and goodbye.
Adios.